Coming up from the NBA convention in Orlando, a big deal for some big jets.
Some new airplanes out of Brazil. The future is electric.
And something new to keep your passengers entertained. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Celebrate 20 years of Sonex aircraft by building and flying your dream. Quick handling, fun and capable kit aircraft models to suit your flying passions. Get the best performance per dollar with Sonex aircraft.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haines and Melissa Rudinger.
Welcome to Orlando and the National Business Aviation Association Annual Convention and Exhibition. This is the premier gathering for corporate aircraft operators and a showcase for the stuff, well, most of us can only dream about.
But this year, a focus on emerging technologies that will affect pilots no matter the size of their wallets. And the future is electrifying. More on that in a moment. But the big news on the business front, a big order for Cessna. NetJets inked a deal with Cessna's parent Textron for some 325 jets.
And so this morning we're very excited to announce that we'll not only build on the technology but the relationship with NetJets, as we've come to an agreement on delivery, or the agreement for 175 Longitudes to go into the NetJet fleet.
So today we're excited to further expand the relationship with Cessna and Textron. Today we are announcing the NetJets will be the launch customer of the Citation Hemisphere, with an agreement to purchase up to 150 aircraft. And most importantly, I think to many of us, is that this will be the first aircraft that we actually be, and quietly we've already been co-designing this airplane.
There have been some development issues with the new Safran engines for the Hemisphere. No timeline yet on when the large jet will be certified. Meanwhile, Longitude certification is expected within a few weeks.
As Cessna's newest aircraft, the Longitude was front and center at Textron's static display. Lots of lookers, not me though, because, well, I had the opportunity that the lookers can just dream about. I got to fly it. The Longitude is large, high-tech, and comfortable. On my recent flight with Textron, I experienced all those attributes. The startup process and pre-flight checks are largely automated.
We can go ahead and look through our flight controls, and we have a lot of things automated. Instrumented, so we got sensors out there, so when you actually do your flight control suite, you can see your sensors move. So you can go ahead and do the pitch, or that's good too. You can see your roll spoilers and your ailerons coming up. Power is set. 1, 2, 3, airspeed's alive.
At a maximum takeoff weight, the Longitude can climb to flight level 430 in about 22 minutes. At cruise, I saw 472 knots, or a Mach of 0.827, while burning about 1,700 pounds per hour. After a descent to 15,000 feet, I cranked the Longitude around for some steep turns and a few stalls to the shaker. No surprises, as you might expect on a Part 25 airplane. What I noticed most from the flight is just how well the Longitude treats the pilots and the passengers. The Garmin G5000 is remarkably advanced. The 3 14-inch displays plus 4 touchscreen controllers allow access to all major systems on the airplane. Textron Aviation officials knew they had one chance to get it right for the person paying the bills, so they put a major emphasis on the cabin, especially on acoustics.
The quiet cabin is second to none, makes a huge difference from a comfort factor, low cabin altitude, best legroom in this class, more than 10% more legroom than any competing airplane in this segment.
And so it looks like the Longitude, the largest cabin ever to carry the Cessna name, will be a big hit with customers.
But there is great demand for the airplane, and we're ramping up the production line. It's fully flowing right now with units all throughout the build and completion cycle.
So lots of fun. I don't have a lot of time in swept-wing jets, and so it's always fun to be able to experience something new and different.
You would get all the good stuff.
And that was a particularly good one.
The Longitude falls into the category of super mid-size, and that's what most corporate buyers seem to want now, at least according to Honeywell Aerospace. Every year, the NBAA convention kicks off with the Honeywell forecast for aircraft purchases over the next 10 years, and things are looking up.
Well, it's slightly higher. I mean, we have about 50 more aircraft in our 10-year forecast this year than last year.
Okay, 50 doesn't seem like a lot, but considering how much some of these cost, a Cessna Citation Longitude is about $27 million, so you're talking some real money. And most buyers are willing to pony up at least that much.
Yeah, if you look at the overall mentions for a new aircraft in the survey, 62% of them are for super midsize or bigger aircraft. If you look at dollars spent on new aircraft purchases, about 87% over the next 10 years will be on super midsize or bigger aircraft. So this is quite significant.
Some 61% of BizJet buyers are in North America. Things are also looking up in Europe, Asia, and Latin America. The forecast is down except for Brazil.
And speaking of Brazil, manufacturer Embraer was the only one to announce new models at the show this year. AOPA pilot editor-at-large Tom Horn has the details.
Embraer kicked off this year's show by announcing two new jets, the mid-size Praetor 500 and the super mid-size Praetor 600. The Praetor name, bound to attract attention, is derived from the name of high-level military and judicial officers in the ancient Roman Empire.
Often I've talked about our aircraft DNA ultimately being that butler with wings experience, where technology feeds you information without you having to ask for it at a glance. Well, when you start thinking of who's the ultimate butler, well, imagine you're an emperor of Rome. The Praetor was the ultimate servant. So with that kind of mentality, that's a name with soul.
The Praetor models are based on the Embraer Legacy 450 and 500 models, but both have significantly more range, more powerful engines, and winglets.
So the Praetor 600 and 500 are truly now the best-in-class midsize and super midsize because of the range.
And if you're going to spend a lot of time in an airplane, the interior matters. With the Praetor, Embraer is rolling out its Brazilian-inspired Bossa Nova interior.
Bossa Nova is that genre of jazz music that was made in the 1950s in Rio. And in Rio, there's beautiful designs from Carl Burlmarx and the walkway patterns, the tile, the Ipanema Beach, and Copacabana. So what can we do that tells that James Bond 1960s goes to Rio in his DB5 and meets the girl from Ipanema interior?
The Praetor models are currently undergoing flight tests. Delivery of both is expected to start next year. Tom Horn, AOPA Live.
One thing that has not significantly changed in decades for business aviation is top speed. Aerion is working to change that with their supersonic business jet concept, the AS2. And now the engine that will make the AS2 possible is getting closer to reality. GE Aviation announced it had completed the initial design of the first supersonic engine purpose-built for business jets called the Affinity.
This is a combination of our military supersonic experience, the high reliability of our commercial engines, because we're using a commercial engine core, and then we've added some advanced technology. We're excited. I mean, this is it's a new future, right? I mean, you look at all the airplanes out there, they've gotten bigger, right? But they've only got a little bit faster. So really the next step on business aviation is going to be speed.
Aerion is also collaborating with Lockheed Martin and Honeywell to develop the AS2. The company says that the first flight of the AS2 will be in 2023 with certification to follow in 2025.
But back to some aircraft that are more likely to be flying before any business airplanes start breaking the sound barrier. Cessna showed off the first cabin mock-up of its turbine twin since the Conquest. The SkyCourier is designed to carry up to 3 large shipping containers or 19 passengers.
As we've talked to customers about this airplane, what we've learned is there are all kinds of different markets for this, both purely cargo, purely passenger, combinations of them, special missions applications, medevac applications. The list has gone on and on of the different potential configurations that people have asked about.
The airplane is still early in the design process. FedEx has already placed an order for 50 of the airplanes. Also in mock-up, out of the static, Cessna's turbine single, the Denali. The Pilatus PC-12 competitor is getting closer to its first flight.
GE continues to drive forward with their new catalyst engine that's going to power the Denali. From the development side at Cessna, we've got several static test articles that are now built and complete in Wichita that we'll start to do loads verifications. We're already working with some of the landing gear, drop testing. So still proceeding well with several of the test articles. at our Wichita facility, all to get ready for first flight of the aircraft next year.
The Denali will seat up to 11 passengers and features Garmin touchscreen G3000 avionics.
Ever been flying and wondered what that was below you? Well, now you can find out using the new Goji box. The small device plugs into cabin Wi-Fi and gives passengers an interactive look at what the airplane is flying over with audio stories, pictures, and a moving map.
I mean, the trend today is that the passengers want their entertainment on their own devices, so we cater to that. We provide an entertainment that they can't get anywhere else. It's again, it's produced by the entertainment industry, and it's available on their devices. And from an aircraft operator perspective, there's not a lot of infrastructure, weight, and cost to put the system on.
The Goji box is on sale now with deliveries starting next year. Pretty nifty.
Pretty nifty. Help the kids pass the time in the back of their business jet, right? So, gee, what is that? I don't know. Well, you can learn something about geography or something.
Absolutely.
When we come back, they're crying for pilots and technicians and just about everything else in aviation.
And our electrifying future. You're watching AOPA Live this week from Orlando.
You always knew it was your perfect airplane. Now it can have the perfect panel. Garmin G500 TXI and Garmin G600 TXI. The next generation of flight displays.
Welcome back to the NBA convention in Orlando. There was something heard but not seen at the convention: electric aircraft.
No actual flying machines in the static display or on the exhibit hall floor, but lots of talk. Warren Morningstar has more.
And you have your big propellers turning with electric engines. You have no noise, no noise. You have no pollution. You have no fuel. And there's a moment where you think, wow, I'm in the future. I'm in a film of science fiction. And then you think, no, it's today. This is what the technologies of today allow us to do today. And then you understand how much the rest of the world is in the past.
At this year's NBAA convention, it's clear that the future is electric. Multiple keynote speakers talked about how electric power is going to revolutionize aviation.
So distributed electric propulsion, which is taking the same technology that's driving drones, the same technology that's allowing electric cars to become a more and more meaningful form of transportation, can be applied to make new type of aircraft that are radically simpler and thus much, much cheaper to operate, and also have much more efficient operation through the use of all-electric powertrains.
And presentations on electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or eVTOLs, say that the future will be urban air transportation.
The vision that we have is that it's really a new frontier for aviation. And we are not talking just about technology. We're talking about everything.
From Boeing to Bell to Embraer, major companies are buying into Uber's vision of eVTOLs providing on-demand aerial transportation at the click of an app.
So what we envision is a world of aerial ride sharing, where there are vehicles that can take off and land vertically like a helicopter, but that can fly quietly and efficiently like an airplane, utilizing new technologies from electric propulsion, from electric cars, and from drones, to make this new form of mobility that is accessible to many people, and that can really transform the way people move around cities.
And Allison says an Uber Air flight will be affordable.
Our analysis shows that for a typical helicopter used in a charter type of an operation, we're talking about $9 per passenger mile. We think that the electric VTOL technology alone can reduce the cost to something around $6 per passenger mile. And that's roughly equivalent to what it costs to take one of our Uber Black premium products right now. And we think that by then applying more technology that we are actually already developing and using in our ground business of kind of aggressively pooling and matching people into these vehicles, so kind of really leveraging that idea of ride sharing. We call it ride share economics. We can actually further reduce the price to something more like $2 per passenger mile, which is pretty close to what our kind of everyday product, UberX, costs right now for ground transportation.
Brave new world. Warren Morningstar, AOPA Live.
Some pretty fascinating stuff that Uber is contemplating, at least. We'll see where that goes, whether we're all sort of Ubering around in our Uber Air aircraft in the next few years. It could be as soon as 2023, apparently.
Well, stay tuned. I think electric is in our future.
All right, there was a reference to the Jetsons, so we'll see how that turns out. And there was plenty of talk about something else, too, the pilot shortage.
I was talking with a friend of mine who recently started up a startup airline, a low-cost airline, and I asked him how was it going. He said, things are going great, except I can't find pilots. And so it's a shortage across the board for us. And not only just with pilots, but over in the maintenance side of the house, in the logistics side of the house, in our flight attendants. The whole enterprise is one with a human, what I call the human factor, and we really have to work that very, very hard.
And not just a shortage today. The eVTOL visionaries say the demand for pilots and technicians is going to expand enormously because there will be so many more flying machines.
So there is a it's huge demand out there. It's a hidden demand. So the numbers today, they are reference, but it's going to be very different from the current aviation. Current aviation, we talk about hundreds. And in this new frontier of aviation, we're going to talk about thousands. It's an order of magnitude at least.
Kids, it's a good time to get into aviation.
If you follow the news and politics at all, this already seems like a distant memory. But it was just 2 weeks ago that the president signed the FAA reauthorization bill, the first long-term bill since 1982. An important part of the bill is that it kills air traffic control privatization and user fees for the next 5 years. And a key congressman in the fight told the convention that you were key to the victory.
Without the large team that I'm looking at here, the team of NBAA, GAMA, EAA, AOPA, and all those other aviation organizations, we would be having a completely different conversation than we're having today. So once again, thank you, stay vigilant, stay persistent, and stay very passionate.
But that reauthorization bill just isn't enough, according to the FAA's boss. The acting FAA administrator wants some money guarantees.
Of course, while the bill gives us the authority to exist for the next 5 years, it doesn't give us the money to keep the lights on. So while we get a respite from living under one short-term extension after another, we are not out of the woods on funding.
Being short of available funds for multiple years does make planning easier and definitely is better when working on long-term capital projects like NextGen. It will just take an act of Congress to get there, apparently.
But here's an act of the FAA that could put some money in your pocket. As we first told you last week, the ADS-B rebate has been resurrected. That's $500 you can get after you install and verify an approved ADS-B out solution. The details are on the FAA's website.
Seems like we're always traveling. Next week, we'll be moving a bit west for the AOPA fly-in to Gulf Shores, Alabama, presented by the Alabama Department of Transportation Aeronautics Bureau. The event caps off a great year of fly-ins, but the work isn't over yet. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop has a look at what's happening to get things ready to welcome thousands of pilots.
The ramp is quiet now, but there's already a buzz.
Our staff is super excited. We're very excited for hosting this and having the opportunity.
Gulf Air Center is one of 3 host FBOs. They're hard at work rolling out the Southern hospitality.
We are getting the hangars ready for exhibit hall and main stage and things like that.
This area's economy is driven by the 6.5 million people who visit each year, so the whole town gets it.
The support we've gotten from everybody, and we always have with this city and Gulf Shores and Orange Beach both. I think when we had our kickoff meeting here with AOPA, we had an auditorium. We had close to 180 people there that are here to help.
There's a Barnstormers party on Friday night and great programming throughout the day on Saturday. And did I mention the beach? It might be worth coming early or staying late for the miles of clean sugar sand. In Gulf Shores, Alabama, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
If you're planning to fly in, be sure to visit our website to review the procedures. There's a pilot information packet, a copy of the NOTAM, and a link to an arrival and departure safety video.
There are always lots of awards handed out at a convention like this, but this is one we think is really well deserved. NBAA presented its Al Ueltschi Award for Humanitarian Leadership to Sean D. Tucker and the Bob Hoover Academy for At-Risk Kids.
And this is what it's all about. What it's all about is this family out there letting our kids of America, whether you're rich or poor, black or white, it doesn't matter. In America, your dreams are valid. We have a high school, and we're taking these kids and we're believing in them. We're giving them something to believe in them. And they have someone to believe in them. And I got to tell you, it's transformative. It's probably the greatest opportunity I'll ever have in my life to pay it back.
So that's such a special and inspiring academy, and Josh did a story on it back in what was it, June?
Yep, it was, and it really is. Sean is so into it, and he feels such responsibility for these kids that live in his neighborhood out there, and being able to give them a better future. It's really inspiring.
It is.
And one final award to mention. Our own Tom Horn got his this week in Orlando for setting a world speed record from Portland, Maine to Farnborough, England. He did it in a Legacy 450. Of course, one way to get a speed record is to find a city pair that doesn't have a record between the two and then fly it. One of our colleagues set a world record between Phoenix and Bakersfield in a Tri-Pacer. So it can be done.
That sounds like an Al Marsh adventure to me. I know Al's been with us many years.
That was definitely an Al story. And that's a wrap from Orlando. Next week, the AOPA fly-in to Gulf Shores.
And we hope to see some of you there, and we hope to see all of you back here next Thursday for another edition of AOPA Live This Week.
The AOPA World MasterCard delivers competitive cashback rewards in all of your favorite aviation categories. That's 4% cashback on AOPA purchases, 3% back on select AOPA partner purchases, 2% back at FBOs plus fuel and taxis, and 1% back on everything else, everywhere, every day. Apply now for the AOPA World MasterCard, the best card for pilots.